ho mai o tiki o tarangi. E tiku ko te pū, ko te weo, ko te rito, ko te pūkenga, ko te wānanga, ko te taura, ko te tauī rā. Tēnei rā te awhi anu ko te awhi anu ka hahau ki ngā te ahuatanga i o nui, i o roa, i o matua nui tarangi. E pūwai taki wewe, pūwewe rangi. Ka hahau ki ngā te tipua, ka hahau ki ngā te tawhito, ka hahau ki ngā te kapi o ngā atua. Tēnei rā te mihi atu rā ki rātou ngā mate, o hokohi atu rā ki te wakainga o ngā mātua tupuna. Me ki ana kia tātou i runga tarangi mārie ki o āhatanga. Tēnei wā, kia tūturu whakamawa, kia tīna, tīna, aungi, ui e.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we get started in the meeting, I'd like to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded and it's being live streamed. I'd like to welcome people, members of the public who are watching it. Are there any apologies? Yes. Oh, Councillor Crowns. Are there any other apologies? Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Brosnan, Councillor Tapine, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest? If there are none, we will move on. Are there any? Is there anybody here for the public forum? No. Right, moving on. Announcements by the Mayor. None. Announcements by the chairperson, including notification of minor matters not on the agenda. Are there any minor matters that you would like to have discussed? All right, if there are none, now we have an announcement by management. I'd like, yes, Darren Gillis to come up and make his announcement. Thank you.
Morena Mayor, Councillors, and thanks Madam Chair, to just give a brief update on the recovery, so thanks for letting me to do that. Where we've got to today, you'll be aware that we created Kia Kua Tahi Tatua Ahurei Nai, we are Team Napier, and what that represented and where we've got to with this at this moment. So that was really about connecting people during level 4 and level 3, giving people a call of action to try and get people to connect. We had some really strong pillars you can see up in the screen there that we got behind. So that was connect, make regulation easy, communicate, celebrate, and activate. So the creation of a website, social media campaign behind Team Napier was the first part of that. And that was really about sharing stories amongst our businesses, our community, our people, that we are in this together, that we can get through, and that there's real optimism there. And some good examples, we had the Archie Bunkers escape room that got a lot of traction. That's a good initiative that went through the business fund, right down to Taradale High School supporting age concern. These are good examples of what that kind of coming together can do to gain momentum. And then to kind of other initiatives like the Hawke's Bay Music Hub live sessions. I hope you've all been tuning into that. That's become a weekly thing at the Paisley Stage, at other Cabana, where people can watch and live stream some music, donate to the artists while they perform. But what also that does, that encourages people to gain momentum for when we opened up into level 2 and level 1, that these things are going on. So that was really, really important. Another part of what Team Napier has been about is about working with local business, and particularly the free business groups around Napier and Ahurei and Taradale, to give them some support as well, sharing the business stories like we did with Kilt, about what training opportunities they did during lockdown. And there's also simple things like giving T-shirts, branding, so they can get really behind that. As you may have noticed, if you go into cafe and retail, you might see the Team Napier T-shirt on some of the staff. You'll certainly see the decal on the shop windows. And then we've seen what that has done to our spend across Napier. So it's actually been really positive the last 6 weeks as we've moved out of level 2 into level 1. So at the end of the 21st of June, we were 6.3% up on spend from the equivalent year, which is really positive. And for the year to date, we're only 11% behind. But as we move now into the sort of second phase of recovery, we need to make sure that we're in it for the long term. So there's been 2 funds that are just being started. So we've got the Te Puwai Tanga, the Green Communities Together Fund. And that's about looking for fresh, simple ideas to make Napier flourish. And they value up to 200,000, anything between 500 and 5,000. And that's open to community groups, neighbourhoods and residents. And then we've got the Recovery Project Fund. and that's looking for initiative ideas that fast-track Napier's recovery around our recovery goals. And that's open to registered entities, including business, community organisations, social enterprise, and that comes up to about 500,000, and they can range from 5,000 to over 30,000 applications. So that's kind of where we are now. We'll be supporting those initiatives coming in, reviewing them and trying getting as many off the ground as quickly as possible as this recovery carries on. So that was my very brief
Thank you.
kind of overview of where we're at to this moment. Any questions?
Could I ask a question, please, Mr. Gillis? I understand all these funds are open now for applications. Have there been any, you don't need to say who they are, but have there been any applications
I believe
to
there
date?
have been already, yes.
So it's really important that people want to apply, get into it, because as soon as that money runs out, it's gone.
Gone, yes.
Understand, yep. Oh, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Just for the public, is all this information on the website for
So
them
the
to?
two funds, absolutely, that's now on the website, yes. And the details about how to apply, all the process and a sort of help guide. And if people do struggle with them, just please let us know and we can assist with the applications.
Cool, so just give the help desk a call.
So there's an email address set up specifically for the administration of these funds. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's been administered by someone who would get back to you if you had some queries or questions about the application process.
Brilliant, thank you.
Any other questions? Right, well, thank you very much. If you could just remain seated there if you don't mind, because the next major item you will be speaking to. But are there any other announcements by management? Yes, thank you, CE, Acting CE, Mr. Marshall.
Morena tātou. Just a brief announcement that the Remuneration Authority has put through a determination in terms of members' remuneration. It is a compulsory effect for the next 6 months, allowing a reduction of 20% for members who are paid over a certain amount. The only person that affects at our council is Mayor Wise, and so really just advising you it's a compulsory order. We don't have an option not to participate. Happy to take any questions.
Yes, Councillor.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Marshall? At one stage they were talking about allowing members who were affected by the compulsory decrease to offset that by donating to local charities and organisations. Is that part of their determination?
That is part of the determination and it is permitted.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Appreciate that. Right, moving on, the confirmation of the minutes. Would somebody like to move that the minutes of the Napier People and Places Committee meeting held on Thursday, the 27th of February 2020 be taken as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Councillor Price, Councillor Crystal. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Thank you. So our main agenda item here is library membership policy, and I would like Mr. Gillis to explain this particular resolution.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is basically an update of an existing policy that was internal only. It's now to be facing towards customers as well. And it was also just an opportunity to make sure the policy aligned with the library strategy that was passed at the end of 2018 around enabling access, knowledge advocacy, community collaborators and sustainable futures. But essentially what it does, it just defines who a member are, what they're entitled to, and what kind of category of membership you sit into. And this also reflects now that the library membership can be applied for online, which you previously couldn't do, which makes it a lot simpler for members of the public, and it was a great help during lockdowns. So we gained over 100 new members because they could apply for it online and then confirm their identity once they come in to see us. We now only have, I think, 4 categories of membership when we used to have 7 or 8. We just basically got adults, children's and the 2 levels of children's, utility membership, which is basically for teachers, kindergartens and other associations who want to take large amounts of books out for longer periods of time to support education. And then our home services, which is about housebound individuals who can't get to our library that often. So we provide a courier system which works for volunteers. That means that they can have books out for longer and there's not the same rush to get it back. Terms and conditions should be reasonably straightforward. They were taken from a hybrid of multiple libraries across New Zealand to make sure that we were in line with them. It mentions the fees and charges, which are all visible on our website. So basically, it's a simplification of what was an existing policy that should be easy for our community to understand and also easier for our staff to administer.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. McGrath, Councillor McGrath.
Just through the chair, I noticed under the conditions of membership that the books have to be dropped off back at Napier and Taradale libraries.
Yep.
In the past, I think we've had an understanding with Hastings Library, and also I noticed in Pack and Save there's a book return.
Yep.
This policy just sort of states it has to come back to Napier or Taradale Library.
It can be the other venues as well. So they're the home branches, but yes, we still have that arrangement with Hastings. It's changed slightly because it used to be around the bus network.
Yep.
We now have a courier system that we have been renewing on a week-by-week basis to transport books back. So a book from any library and anywhere in New Zealand that ended up with us, we would return it to them and vice versa. So that the core home branches are Napier and Taradale, but people can, if they need to, return them elsewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Supplementary question, please, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councillor.
Kia ora, Darren. So with the changes in operation, if we've moved away from the buses supporting the library, the courier component would add costs to the function of the library. So how long are we looking to absorb those costs, and is there a long-term solution that might replace that?
It's a very minimal cost. It's only about $10, $20 a week. So it's not a prohibitive cost. It's cheaper than us driving back and forth between the two branches. We're quite happy to absorb this cost at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Just to say, I had the opportunity to look at the old policy and compare the two, and I must say the new one is as you say, it's much simpler, it's much less restrictive, it's more sort of inviting and inclusive. The old one said things like library card must be presented at all times, member will be charged a replacement fee for a lost or stolen card. So it was very strict and lots of rules, whereas the new one is much more open and less restrictive, so I think it's a great improvement.
Thank you.
So if there are no further questions or comments, could somebody move this resolution, please? Councillor Mawson, Councillor Crystal second. Is there any discussion?
I'll just, Darren, thank you for that. It was quite easy for me to sign up online. I was one of those 100. So yes, I encourage anyone that's watching to get out there and if they don't already, to get themselves a library membership.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Councillor Crystal? Right, no. Right, we'll put the motion then. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. The motion's carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is, of course, public excluded, but what we're going to do is move from this meeting into the open agenda of the Prosperous Napier meeting. So this is the resolution that I would like somebody to move and second, please. That the public, except for 3 representatives from Māori movement, be excluded from the following part of the meeting. Council Projects Fund application. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Mawson, Mayor Wise. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. So we'll now adjourn the People and Places Committee, and the Prosperous Napier Committee open agenda will begin shortly.